Hello and welcome to my channel Happy Hours. In my last video I discussed about the divide and rule politics of British, or we can say the aggressive policy of British in 20th century. I even discussed about the partition of Bengal in detail, about the different approach by extremist and moderate which lead to the Surat split in 1907, or we can say the Congress split. Even I have discussed about the establishment of Muslim League, its causes and its objective. Finally, I have concluded with the discussion about the Lucknow session of 1916 of Congress. In this video, I am going to discuss about the Home Rule League movement of 1916, Government of India Act 1919. I am going to proceed further with the discussion about Gandhiji, about his early career and the activism, where I am going to discuss about his moderate phase, extremist phase, his advent in Indian politics, Champaran Satyagraha, Ahmedabad mill strike and Kheda Satyagraha, Rawlatt Satyagraha, Jallianwala Bagh incident, Khilafat movement, and finally the integration of Home Rule League. So what are we waiting for? Let's start with the Home Rule League 1916. It was based on Irish Home Rule League movement. Annie Besant was in favor of having the same relation between India and England as there was a relation in between Ireland and England. Tilak was also very much inspired by this Home Rule League formula. Tilak started Home Rule League movement in April 1916 from Maharashtra, Karnataka and Virar. Annie Besant started in September 1916. Her area was confined to the rest of India, including Bombay. There were 200 branches of League of Annie Besant. She invited many Congress leaders like Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, C.R. Das, Madan Mohan Malviya, Jinnah and Lala Lajpat Rai. The main activities of League of Annie Besant was prepared by George Arundel, B.P. Wadia and C.P. Ramasamy Iyer, who was always known as Periyar. The main demand of Home Rule League movement was Swaraj, national education, vernacular language, linguistic organization of state, freedom of press, constitutional status to self-government, Indianization of services and responsible government. The League of Tilak was more organized than the Annie Besant. He successfully conducted mass contact program. The people of Maharashtra gave him the title of Lokmanya. In 1917, British government arrested Annie Besant, George Arundel and B.P. Wadia. These arrests became the international headline, so they were released after the intervention of American President Woodrow Wilson. In 1917, the Secretary of State for India, Montagu, announced in British Parliament for the establishment of responsible government in India. Therefore, Annie Besant decided to take back Home Rule League movement. But some congressmen were not agreed with the Montagu reform. They wanted the continuation of Home Rule League. By the year 1918, Home Rule League movement became dormant, mainly because of two factors. First was the Montagu reform, and second, Tilak went to England to fight the legal case against Valentine Serrall. He wrote a book about the father of Indian unrest. He mentioned Tilak as the father of Indian unrest. In 1920, Gandhi became the president of All India Home Rule League, and he integrated this movement into non-cooperation movement. He gave the new name to this movement as the Swaraj Sabha. Next topic is the Government of India Act 1919. As per the Montagu schemes for reform, Government of India Act 1919 was passed. It was considered as the first step towards the transfer of power. In this act, diarchy was introduced in the provinces. The provision of diarchy was like this. First, the provisional subjects were divided into two parts, as the reserved subject and the transferred subject. Reserved subjects were like law and order, land revenue, taxation, trade, and they were under the hand of governor and council. The transferred subjects were like health, education, local self-government, agriculture, etc. And these were in the hand of Indian minister. By this we can realize the main power was still under the hand of governor. Next, governor can exercise veto power on decision of Indian minister, but governor and his council were not responsible to the legislature. So they can intervene in the Indian minister's decision, but they cannot take the responsibility. Next is the voting criteria was extended, and the Indian women also got the right to vote depending on the criteria of property. We can imagine out of 35 crore population, only 3.5 crore got the voting right. Means only 10% of the total population got the right to vote. Third is the expenditure of India House became the responsibility of British revenue. Fourth is the power of Secretary of State was minimized and the power of Viceroy was increased. Fifth, High Commissioner was appointed in London to represent India. Sixth and the last is the separate electorates were granted to Buddhists, Sikh, Christians and Anglo-Indians. Now I am going to proceed further and going to discuss about Gandhi, his early career and activism. Gandhi went to South Africa along with Dadabhai Abdullah in 1893. He was a London-educated barrister and was very much inspired by the philosophy of Thoreau and Tolstoy. He learned basic principle of civil disobedience movement from Thoreau. Gandhi's activity in South Africa can be divided into two parts. First is the moderate phase, which was from 1893 to 1905. Second was the extremist phase, or we can say the phase of passive resistance from 1906 to 14. First, I am going to discuss about the moderate phase. There were many problems of Indians in South Africa because of the huge racial discrimination. There were three types of Indians living in South Africa. First was the indentured labor. These were those who went to South Africa on 1 year legal contract. Second, ex-indentured labor. These were those who stayed in South Africa even after the expiry of contract. Third and the last were the Memon Muslims of Gujarat working as traders. Gandhi adopted the moderate phase of prayer, petition and persuasion with the South African government and the British government. He understood that India is a British subject. Therefore, British government must redress the grievances of Indians. Gandhi established Natal Indian Congress to organize Indians. He started publication of newspaper as named Indian Opinion to highlight the problem of Indians. Gandhi went to South Africa to highlight the issue before the British authority. He also consulted Leo Tolstoy. On the way back to South Africa, he wrote many editorials for his newspaper Indian Opinion. His editorials were recompiled as a book known as Hind Swaraj. In this book, his assessment of British rule was very striking. Gandhi said Indians were very much allured by industrial civilization of West. Therefore, they tolerated British dominance, which aspired British to transform into political power. Next is the extremist phase of Gandhi, or we can say the phase of passive resistance. Gandhi had inbuilt character of leadership. He was always firm on any issue, uncompromising attitude, capability of understanding the psychology of people, and he was fantastic orator. Gandhi proved his leadership skill as an organizer, as propagandist, as fundraiser, and as a journalist. There were many types of problems of Indians in South Africa. First was the Registration Act. Indians have to register before the local authority so that the British will identify indentured and the ex-indentured labor. Second was the Invalidation of Marriage Act. Any marriage which was not exercised in the Christian ways, that marriage was declared illegal. So the Hindu marriage and the Muslim marriage were illegal, which was derogatory to Indian women. Third is the poll tax. Those Indians living in South Africa, even after expiry of contract, they have to pay 3 pounds annual tax, which was very high. Fourth is the Immigration Act. Those Indians who went to South Africa, their tenure and the area of work permit were defined. Indians cannot move to the other province for the employment. Gandhi made the experiment of Satyagraha, which is considered as most powerful tool against the colonial power. Satyagraha is request to come out with the truth without any ill will and contradiction. It is discussion and debate to come out with the truth, whether it is absolute truth or the relative truth. Self-restraint and the non-violence is the basic tenets of Satyagrahis. Gandhi considered violence as cowardice. Self-suffering to the extent to the change the mind and heart of the opponent. Satyagrahi should be fearless and always make God witness of their truth. So Gandhi wanted to develop a class of Indians to lead the society, which will develop mentally moral personality of human. Gandhi insisted on raising the moral of Indians. The Satyagrahis should be opposing all types of atrocities without going down before the evils. Satyagrahis should withdraw all cooperation and support to the government by the principle of boycott. Gandhi established Tolstoy firm in Natal province of South Africa with the help of German architect Karl Buck in 1910. This firm was constructed to help those Satyagrahis who lost their jobs in South Africa. Sir Ratan Tata donated 25,000 rupees to Gandhi for Tolstoy firm. Finally, Viceroy Lord Hardinge had a meeting with General Smuts, Gandhi and C.F. Andrews, who was always known as Deen Bandhu. Gandhi agreed to return back to India and from South Africa, and South African government also agreed to take back some of the discriminatory laws. Gandhi came to India on 9th January 1915, which is celebrated as NRI Day by the Government of India. Next aspect is the advent of Gandhi in Indian politics. After 20 years of long experiment in South Africa, Gandhi returned back to India on 9th January 1915. He had a series of meetings with Tilak and Gokhale. Gokhale was regarded as the political guru of Gandhi. He gave two fundamental lessons to Gandhi. First, never jump into the action before understanding the situation. Gokhale wanted that Gandhi must understand the Indian villages before entering in Indian politics. Second, do not join political organization which can influence you. Join the organization which you can influence. But Gandhi joined Indian National Congress in 1915. In 1916, Gandhi participated in the meeting of Indian National Congress at Lucknow session. In this session, a Jamindar of Champaran, Rajkumar Shukla, invited Gandhiji to see the problems of indigo cultivators. Gandhi went to Champaran in 1915, which was the historic journey and known as the Champaran Satyagraha. It was the first civil disobedience movement. After the Champaran Satyagraha, Gandhi was entitled as Mahatma by Rabindranath Tagore. Now let us discuss in detail about the Champaran Satyagraha, or we can say the first civilian disobedience movement. It was the first experiment of civil disobedience movement. In Champaran, there was tin katia system. British planters forced peasants to cultivate indigos on 3 by 20 part of the land. British government was collecting extra land revenue from the peasant, and it was known as Sarha Besi. Gandhi went to Champaran along with some of the leaders of Congress and the peasant leaders like J.P. Kripalani, Rajendra Prasad, Braj Kishore Prasad, Mahadev Desai, Narhari Parikh, and Majruhul Haq. The district magistrate of Champaran imposed provisional order and restricted Gandhi in entry in Champaran. Gandhi defied the provisional order, so he was arrested, but he was granted bail also. Gandhi started Satyagraha before the district magistrate. District magistrate constituted Indigo Commission. Gandhi also became the member of that commission. Finally, commission agreed that sarhbesi is optional, means those who will cultivate indigo will have to pay sarhbesi. Commission also agreed to return 25% of illegal collection after the victory of Gandhi in Champaran. He emerged as the undisputed leader of peasant. Tagore gave the title of Mahatma to Gandhi after the success of Champaran Satyagraha. Next, I am proceeding with the Ahmedabad mill strike. Ahmedabad was frequently suffering from plague. Therefore, mill owners started giving plague bonus. Once the plague stopped, mill owners stopped bonus. So the laborers demanded 50% hike in wages, whereas mill owners agreed to give only 20%. But on the suggestion of Gandhi, laborers decided to go on strike. Unlike Champaran, it was a problem between the Indian mill owners and the Indian laborers. So this is the conflict in between the Indians. Gandhi himself participated in strike. He sat on strike before the mill of his friend Ambalal Sarabai. Sister of Ambalal Sarabai was Ansuya Bain, who was a companion of Gandhi for this strike. Finally, British government intervened and a tribunal was constituted, comprising the labor leader, representative of industrialists, and the British government. This tribunal awarded 35% of increase in the wages. So, after the success of Ahmedabad mill strike, Gandhi was assumed the leadership of labor. He constituted Ahmedabad Textile Labor Union. Next Satyagraha by Gandhi was the Kheda Satyagraha, which was in the year 1918. Kheda was the backward district of Gujarat, suffering from many social and economic disabilities like poverty, disease, plague, famine, untouchability, alcoholism, etc. The peasants of Kheda demanded exemptions from the payment of land revenue as per the revenue code of the British. According to the revenue code, if in any year the production is less than 50% of the normal, then peasants were liable to get exemptions from the payment of land revenue. But British government was reluctant and started collecting forcefully and started confiscating of property also. Therefore, the peasant leader of Gujarat like Narhari Parikh, Ram Shankar Vyas, Mohan Lal Pandey and Vallabhbhai Patel constituted Gujarat Mahasabha. British government had apprehension that this movement may spread in entire Bombay. Therefore, immediately they took the decision that not to collect land revenue for the current year as well as for the next year. Next is the turning year in the history of Gandhi's relation with British, which means 1919. First was the Rawlatt Satyagraha 1919. British government had passed a law in which the political rights of Indians were subjugated. In fact, during the First World War, Defence of India Act 1915 was passed. There was complete ban on freedom of speech. British government who wanted to expand this act and constituted a committee known as Sedition Committee under Sidney Rawlatt. According to this act, Indian youth would be arrested without any formal trial, merely on the basis of suspicion. So Indian had lost the political rights and any judicial review also. Gandhi described this act as Black Act and decided to launch All India Movement, which is also known as Anti-Rawlatt Satyagraha. Gandhi called for all India strike on 6th April 1919. He utilized the potential of Home Rule League movement to mobilize the mass support. It was the first All India movement. Gandhi already made it very clear that the entire movement will be a non-violent movement. But on 13th April 1919, there was massive violence in Jallianwala Bagh. There was some violence in major cities of India. Therefore, Gandhi decided to take back Rawlatt Satyagraha. He made an historic statement. Indian mass are not matured for the All India movement and leadership is untrained. So, launching mass movement was Himalayan blunder. Now let us know about the Jallianwala Bagh incident. 13th April 1919, Punjab was a disturbed state because of the rising revolutionary activities. Provisional order was imposed in Punjab. There was complete ban on session, procession and the meetings. There was proposed session of Indian National Congress at Amritsar. Therefore, two members of local Congress reception committee, Dr. Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlu, were arrested. In protest, there was gathering at Jallianwala Bagh. Women and children were also there to celebrate Baisakhi. The governor of Punjab, Michael O'Dwyer, instructed commanding officer General R. Dyer to tackle the crowd. General Dyer came with the troops and started unprovoked firing on the unarmed Indians, leading to the death of many. It was a massacre of Indians, which resulted in the massive reaction from intelligentsia. Entire nation was shocked. Rabindranath Tagore returned the title of knighthood to the British. Shankar Nair resigned from the council. Therefore, British government came under pressure and suspended General Dyer and constituted Hunter Committee to inquire the incident of Jallianwala Bagh. There were 3 Indians in this committee. First, Sultan Ahmed Khan. Second, Lala Jagat Narayan. Third was A. Sitalwad. Congress also constituted committee of 3 members, including Gandhi, Madan Mohan Malviya and Motilal Nehru. Meanwhile, General Dyer returned back to England. He was facilitated by civil society and media. He was glorified as Lion of British Empire. British House of Commons passed resolution supporting the bravery of Dyer. British newspaper The Morning Post conducted charity for the General Dyer and £30,000 were collected for him. The demand of Indians was further aggravated. Indians wanted criminal proceedings against Dyer. He should be convicted for mass murder. Meanwhile, the report of Hunter Committee came and it acquitted General Dyer from all charges. Committee suggested no actionable evidence against him. After the huge pressure from Indians, British House of Commons passed a resolution and relieved General Dyer from the services. The report of Hunter Committee was eye-opening for Gandhi. He made a historic statement. He said, "It is not only British government of India is bad, but the whole British system is. Cooperation in any form is to this satanic government is sin. Therefore, loyalists turn into opponent and the cooperation turned into non-cooperation." Gandhi demanded apology from the British or else threatened to launch the mass movement. There was huge response from the Indians, which raised anti-British sentiments. So Gandhi transformed imperialist India into nationalist India. Now I'm proceeding further with the next aspect, and that was the non-cooperation movement, or we can say the Khilafat Swaraj movement, 1920 to 1922. Causes for this movement. First was the Jallianwala Bagh incident. Gandhi demanded apology from the British government for the mass murder in Jallianwala Bagh, but British government rejected the demand. So Gandhi, after understanding the national sentiment, started the mass movement. Second was the Khilafat movement. It was a religious movement of Muslims in the First World War. Turkey was defeated by England, and the post of Khalifa was humiliated. Ottoman Empire was also disintegrated. Therefore, Muslims demanded restoration of post of Khalifa. In Turkey, known as Khilafat movement. In 1919, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali constituted All India Khilafat Committee. Its first meeting was organized in Delhi. Gandhi became president of this committee. He integrated Khilafat movement into the non-cooperation movement. Therefore, non-cooperation movement was known as Khilafat Swaraj movement. Now I'm going to proceed further and going to decide discussion about the integration of Home Rule League in 1919. Gandhi wanted to revive the Home Rule League movement. He used this platform during the anti-Rawlatt Satyagraha also. In 1920, Gandhi became the president of the Home Rule League, and he integrated Khilafat movement with non-cooperation movement. Second was the economic impact of the First World War. There was huge expenditure of India, which resulted in price rise and unemployment. There was huge discontentment against the British. There were many leaders of Congress who were not supportive to Khilafat Swaraj movement. Tilak opposed the alliance with Muslim League. He had doubt over Satyagraha also. Many leaders were not in favor of boycott of council, like C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru and Annie Besant. But finally Gandhi convinced them, and he organized the meeting all-party conference at Allahabad, in which the resolution was passed to launch boycott movement. Gandhi convened the special session of Indian National Congress at Calcutta under the presidentship of Lala Lajpat Rai. It was convened to pass non-cooperation resolution in September 1920. 1 month before the session, Tilak died. He died on August 1920. He was the brain behind Swaraj and nationalism. After the death of Tilak, Gandhi said, "My strongest bulwark had passed." Gandhi constituted Tilak Swaraj Fund, in which 1 crore rupees were collected to fund the non-cooperation program and to promote Khadi. He promoted Charkha to pass anti-colonial challenge to the British. There were 2 types of program in the non-cooperation movement. First was the non-constructive and the second was the constructive. I'm going to discuss about the non-constructive first, where they have to boycott school, colleges, courts and laws council. They have to boycott British clothes, English language, surrender the titles, packeting of liquor shop and the non-payment of land revenue in the non-jamindari areas. Next is the constructive. That was the opening of national school and colleges like Jamia Millia Islamia, Osmania University, Vishwa Bharati University, Kashi Vidyapeeth also. Now Navgopal Mitra, he was known as the capitalist of Bengal. He opened many schools and colleges in Bengal. He was known as National Mitra. During the non-cooperation movement, the promotion of local self-government was done, and means the panchayat, and the promotion of khadi was also done. So with this we came to know about the Home Rule League movement, Government of India Act 1919, Gandhi's work in the South Africa, his advent in India, Champaran Satyagraha Ahmedabad mill strike, Kheda Satyagraha, Rawlatt Satyagraha, Jallianwala Bagh incidents, or we can say the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and the Khilafat movement. With this, I am concluding my video here. If you find the content interesting, kindly like, share and subscribe. Thank you.